Good evening. Welcome to another edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. My name is Leon Jones, and what I'm going to do tonight is continue my scam series. Now, again, I don't worry about how many views or subscribers I'm going to get on these videos, but I'm just giving you the information on what's really happening to you in the real world. Yes, I'm giving you the information on what's really happening to you in the real world. And what I'm going to talk about is Medicare fraud. Now, I'm 58 years old, and I even get scam calls about Medicare. It is a billion-dollar business. And I just want you to be aware, particularly if you are an elderly person, because when it comes to elderly people, a number of them don't really know what's going on. Many of them have Social Security that doesn't cover them. And some of these companies know that. Now, if you've been watching my scam series, I will always tell you, watch your information. Now, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen, and I'm going to tell you about Medicare fraud. And this is something important. Again, the scams are on the rise, and here's how you can avoid the scams. And then I'm going to get into a video so you can see what's going on. Now, when it comes to politics, I'm not a fan of CNBC or any of those of alphabet channels. Now, but when it comes to business, scams, I'll listen to anybody as long as they're reporting the right information. Now, this is by CNBC. The link will be in the bottom of the video. Now, Medicare scams are on the rise, and here are tips how to avoid them. Okay, now, when it comes to scammers, they often use deceptive tactics to lure unsuspecting seniors into sharing their Medicare number. They might offer to send free medical supplies or genetic testing kits, or even promote some other type of refund or incentive. Now, these types of healthcare fraud schemes, which cost the US government tens of billions of dollars in annual losses, are especially troubling because they prey on older people who tend to be more vulnerable to exploitation. Now, here are some measures for seniors and families, and all of us should take. The first and foremost item, guard your personal information. I don't know how many of us give our information out over the phone, especially our Social Security number. I know I've been guilty of that myself. And next thing you know, you're getting a ton of scam calls about issues that don't even concern you, like income tax, Social Security. But here's what you do. Guard your personal information. So basically, solicitations for Medicare scammers can seem very realistic and tend to pick up during open enrollment, which runs from October 15th through December 7th. Now, scams can happen at any time of the year, though, so seniors need to be vigilant. Scammers may try to make contact with you in a variety of ways, including telephone, email, postal mail, text messages, leaflets, and flyers. Generally, what they're doing, they're looking to steal your information, such as your Medicare number, which can be used to file bogus Medicare claims. Often the senior has no idea these claims are happening, said Richard Sheff, a partner in a litigation practice group at global firm Armstrong Teasdale. So what I'm just going to tell you right now, common sense, don't respond to solicitations from companies you don't recognize, or click on links or respond to emails from people you don't know. And if you get a phone call from someone claiming to be from Medicare, hang up immediately. If the phone number, even if the phone number on the caller ID seems like it could be credible, scammers can use a fake caller ID name to impersonate Medicare or other known organization, according to a consumer warning from the Federal Trade Commission. Now, seniors should know that no one from Medicare will call or text them unsolicited to ask for money or to help them with enrollment or other service. Now, again, Medicare will not contact a beneficiary unless the beneficiary has made contact asking for some assistance. Now, again, don't give out any of your information. Numero uno. Now, the longer you stay on the phone with the scammer, the more chance you have of divulging personal information. So trying to gain your confidence to get your information, what they're trying to do, they're trying to get your information by gaining your confidence. And once they do that, they're going to use your information to defraud you. Again, what they're trying to do is gain your confidence to get your information so they can defraud you or use the information to defraud the government at your expense. Also, when something is too good to be true, I'm going to tell you, watch out for anything that is an incentive or they say it's free, because scammers offer to send seniors durable medical equipment such as crutches, knee braces, canes, and splints at no out-of-pocket cost to them. Now, the fraudsters, what they'll do then is convince the unsuspecting seniors to share their medical or social security number and use that data to bill Medicare for high-cost equipment. So to make the sham seem more real, scammers sometimes send some type of lower cost equipment to the recipient. Now, the other offers may seem believable. And one example is highlighted by AARP. It's a scammer who claimed to be referred to AARP by a Medicare recipient's doctor. The caller asked if the recipient would like to take a Medicare covered DNA swab test to rule out cancer that runs in the patient's family. Now, to do this test out of no pocket, correction, to obtain this test at no out of pocket cost, all the recipient has to do is to provide their Medicare number. Now, again, seniors should also watch out for direct mail solicitations. Now, we call that direct mail junk mail. Now, junk mail, it's not as big as it used to be because everything is being sent to you by email or by text, but every now and then you get junk mail. Junk mail like sweepstakes mail. But when it comes to Medicare, you're going to get some of this mail. And also the commercials. And something else. If you're online and you're seeking Medicare, you could get some adware about that too, because you have Google. They track your habits. A lot of people don't know that. I know because I put up a lot of information about land surveying in colleges. Next thing you know, I'm getting all these colleges responding to me to come to their school, even if it's not for what I want to do. But again, seniors should also discard direct mail solicitations or emails purporting to be from Medicare. Spammers spoof Medicare and set up fake websites that look identical to the real page in an attempt to steal information that they can use to defraud Medicare. Now, you know, as a senior, Medicare always sends you a statement. Now, one way to detect potential Medicare fraud, you must read your explanation of your benefit statements carefully. Why? Because many people don't take this step at all, or they don't read the statements carefully, which allows multiple types of fraud to become unnoticed. So one way to combat this is to be on the lookout for charges for products or services you don't recognize or don't seem to make sense. Now, again, if you have any questions, if you're watching this video, the number is right there in front of you. And also, if you're suspecting fraud, report it. Again, call the Medicare number if you suspect it. Also contact your local U.S. Attorney's office and even your state's Attorney General's office. Now, if you find yourself in this position, give yourself a break. Scammers are very good at what they do, and they reel in unsuspecting seniors. Now, we've all faced scammers. Now, what I focus on is a lot of the calls and text messages and emails that we get. And for the most part, if you get a link about Medicare, don't click on that link. Number one, if you do click on that link, it could send a virus to your mobile device or your computer. Then you're going to pay some extra money to have that virus removed from your computer. See, what I'm saying here is a lot of scams are coming about because, number one, Rona. Believe it or not, I'm not going to put that out there, but one thing you need to understand about this country, you have a lot of dishonest people. And today they don't care who they entice. They're about the money. And two areas of people who are the most vulnerable are your elderly and your children. And everybody is trying to use those two classes of people for money. Now, I'm going to share my screen and I'm going to say this is going to be fair use, and I'm going to show you how Medicare and Medicaid fraud became a $100 billion business. Yes, I said it, $100 billion business. Fair use. Fair use.
This is the face of healthcare fraud in America. A Miami businessman smiling as he counts stolen Medicare money in this video secretly recorded by a government informant.
Fair use.
From sham storefronts to empty offices billing the government for Medicare.
What is this business?
To buried millions in cash. The business of stealing Medicare and Medicaid dollars has never been as brazen.
What are we talking, $100 billion?
That's probably a conservative number.
Why Medicare fraud?
It's just easy. It's unbelievable. It's really easy.
We're in South Florida today at the headquarters of the agents charged with investigating Medicare and Medicaid fraud. And today they're taking us on location to show us how those schemes work.
Fair use.
Behind the steering wheel for this rare ride-along is Omar Perez Ibar, Florida's special agent in charge of the investigation.
So, Omar, give me a sense of where you're taking me.
So today we're going to head down south portion of Florida.
He's one of some 450 special agents nationwide from the Office of Inspector General who fight a healthcare fraud battle every day. Annually, estimated Medicare and Medicaid fraud tops $100 billion. Around the world, it's known for its postcard-perfect beaches. But to federal investigators, Florida's famous for its fraud. Massive theft from the government's healthcare benefits, far more than anywhere else in the nation.
we're going to head over to a durable medical equipment company, which unfortunately has been one of the lines of business that is really keeping us busy here.
Durable medical equipment, DME. Think braces and wheelchairs. Fraudsters buy lists of patients and doctors so they can steal from the government.
And with those two key pieces of information, it can sit at a place that has open Wi-Fi and just start submitting claims to Medicare.
In South Florida alone, Perez Ibar says about 90% of the DME companies are fraudulent.
He had two businesses here?
They had two businesses set up here. So we're at 241. But if you can notice, this is kind of the business.
It looks so nondescript.
It is, and that's purposeful. And they want to try to keep us off their trail.
A storefront once used to bilk the government out of $48 million in a single year, run by the guy counting the money.
He thought he was a CEO, when in fact he was just a crook.
His name is Jesus Garces. Back on the road, we head to the home where Garces stashed his stolen money. This is where agents, armed with a search warrant, say they made a startling discovery. Garces had hidden some $2.5 million in cash in 12 PVC pipes under his home.
And where were the pipes?
So he had buried them in the foundation of the home. There was a portion of the home that they were remodeling, and so he put the PVC pipes in the ground.
Was it just loose cash stuffed into the pipes?
They had saran wrapped them or packaged them. They almost looked like bricks of cocaine. So hand would go in, a pipe would come out. Hand would go in, a pipe would come out. And it really was, for us, an indication of how brazen this DME fraud is.
Garces pled guilty to healthcare and wire fraud and was sentenced to 12 and a half years in prison.
Now, I believe that sentence was quite light. Now, again, with money, and anytime when you have bricks, racks of money, you know it looks suspicious. Again, there was a congressman from the state of Louisiana, Democratic congressman, who had $90,000 of cold cash, which was literally cold cash. It was in this freezer. But this is not uncommon. And I'm also do welfare fraud, because as a taxpayer, we pay for those claims. Because when the government gets billed for this fraud, who's paying the government? People like me. We're working every day. And we're paying these crooks. So in the end, this is what happens with the scam if you don't understand your statement of Medicare. And you're getting all these items in wheelchairs, braces, just like I mentioned before. It's too good to be true. It could be a scam. Now, how do you know it's a scam? You keep them on a phone long enough and you start writing information down. And the biggest thing, now me, I cuss at them. I know it's a scam. I cuss at them. Because first of all, it's a trigger that a government agency like Medicare, Medicaid, or Social Security would even call your home. They don't. In fact, in order to get Medicare, you have to fill out an application yourself, and you have to wait for that to get approved. Now, I don't know much about Medicare or Medicaid, but what I do know is, seen the paperwork that you must go through to actually get approved for Medicaid or Medicare for fair use. Let's continue.
Back at headquarters, Perez Ibar shows me how bold these healthcare schemes have become.
The fraudsters here in South Florida are getting so brazen that even in our own building, they decided to set up a fraudulent DME company.
So they don't even care that agents in charge of investigating this Medicare fraud are in the same building.
They're in our face, and we're just as brazen back.
Investigators shut down this operation, but the fraud is flourishing.
Why do the fraudsters even need to set up a storefront?
It is Medicare regulations that you have to have a business, right? Especially in this case for durable medical equipment.
We're at the Miami Merchandise Mart, which federal agents tell us is a hotbed for these fake companies set up to bill Medicare for products and services they never deliver.
In this maze of tiny shops and a kind of indoor flea market, we find exactly what investigators describe.
There's a desk, perhaps there's a bit of a curio with 1 or 2 different types of braces. They'll have the manuals that Medicare requires, and usually there's some type of partition if, let's say, we're talking about orthotics, because the patient is supposed to come in and actually get fitted. That's the DME company. Most times we show up, there's nobody there, or if there is someone there, they have no clue what business they are representing or how it even operates.
Agents shut one down and new ones pop up. In this business, which has been billing Medicare for durable medical equipment, we find a young woman sitting alone at a desk.
Hi, how are you? I'm Contessa Brewer. I'm with CNBC. What is this business?
The woman says it's a medical supply store, but she has nothing to do with the actual business. And the only thing she can show us right now is a brace. She gives us a business card for the owner. I call the number, but it rings at the desk inside.
Hi, this is Contessa Brewer from CNBC. We just talked a minute ago. This is the number you gave me to call to talk to Antonio.
I leave a message for the owner, who we eventually.
And these numbers you get, especially if they call your phone, sometimes they can call from any phone number. And if you try to call that number back, you notice it's always out of service. And one of the reasons why these businesses keep popping up, you shut them down because your investigations, they can't catch everybody. And I'm gonna tell you, some of them are really getting brazen with it, doing it out of their own homes. Some of these collection companies. Oh, there are many scams that I'm going to do. But this right here, think about this number. The gentleman said $100 billion was a conservative number. So it's most likely much greater than $100 billion. Now, you think the government doesn't waste enough money on pork barrel spending? Fraud. That's our tax money. And something that's very peculiar, when it comes to a brace, you have to be fitted for that. Now, you can tell it's a scam if there's no braces or any type of medical devices in that store. And again, everything is very deceptive. And this is what happens when you give your information out. You have individuals that are going to capture it, and you're going to get nonstop calls. Little TJ had a call. And she had to shut it down. I get calls. Now, for me, I like to toy with them. I mean, that's the thing I love. I love the scammers because they're not smarter than I am. They think they are. And once you lay some swear words, they run like a chicken with his head cut off. Or once you tell them that you'll get a lawyer, because there's other scams out there like trademark scams. Stay tuned in this series. But getting back to Medicare fraud, look at all the commercials they have. You have to check those commercials out too. Read the fine print. That's what you have to do. Read the fine print. If something sounds too good to be true, it's not true. It's there to get your hopes up. Use common sense. Fair use. Fair use.
Eventually reach weeks later. He says all the durable medical equipment is ordered through another company after the patient sees a doctor. He refuses to give more information. But government records show the company has billed more than $2 million to Medicare, mostly for wound care. That doesn't surprise this man. We'll call him Julio because he wants to conceal his identity. Julio admits he knows a lot about stealing from Medicare because it was his entire life for many years in Miami.
Why Medicare fraud? Like, why was that alluring to you as compared to other ways, maybe even illicit ways to make money?
It's easy.
Did someone teach you how to game the system?
A friend of mine, yeah, he teach me. One day he called me and says, look, I do this.
Are there a lot of people who are willing to break the law?
A lot of people. You'll be surprised for money. They'll do anything.
Is there a lot of money to be made?
A lot of money. Millions of dollars they make.
How much?
Millions of dollars.
How did that stack up, the risk versus the reward?
Reward, it was excellent.
There is still risk. Fraudsters get caught. The cases against them fill this massive evidence room.
So we do search warrants, secure evidence, make sure we have to keep it in this type of pristine condition. So this is drawer upon drawer full of fake documents. This is evidence that we seized during one of the search warrants.
I look around here, and this is one warehouse in one county in Florida. How big is this problem?
South Florida, without question, is the ground zero for healthcare fraud. But it's only one state. There are 49 others in territories where these types of schemes are occurring.
The Office of the Inspector General says of every $100 spent by Health and Human Services in 2021, only 2 cents was spent on oversight and enforcement. Yet its return on investment, $12 for every dollar it spends on enforcement. We asked the Federal Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services about the widespread fraud. They told us we continuously work to safeguard taxpayer dollars and strengthen program integrity in our operations by identifying vulnerabilities in the system.
What I was told was that what we need is investigators, and we need a lot of them. Why?
It's hard for us to keep up with the amount of fraud that is occurring. We just can't keep up. We need some additional resources.
Now, you just heard it. Resources. Okay. If you have a lot of fraud going on, particularly in the state now, I live here in Indiana, population of around 6.5 million people. Now, if you think about it, with law enforcement, there are a lot to them, there are a lot more important duties other than fraud. You think about what they just said, only 2 cents is spent on law enforcement. Now, is it the feds? Do they really take this seriously? I mean, are some of the people in the feds getting some kickback? We don't know. But I will say this. There's a lot of money because the risks are much lower than the reward. I mean, you think about it. You may get one, but 10 pop up. You're not going to catch everybody, just like speeding. If everybody's going 80 miles an hour in a 70-mile-an-hour zone, you're going to catch one, unless you have a speed trap. But there's no guarantee that you're going to catch everybody. Why? Because people slip through the cracks. And again, it all starts from you as the person recognizing the scam. And the scam is generally a link. Look at the email. If the email doesn't have .gov, and because some of these emails look realistic, but they're not. They're there to scam you out of money. And people will do anything for money. We always talk about everybody selling their bodies on TikTok and selling their bodies in the street. Well, if you think about it, you have a lot of desperate people out here. And when you're desperate, you'll fall for anything that sounds good. And if you are ignorant of what's going on, anything that sounds good that gets you out of your situation, you might fall for. Again, there are a lot of promises made, but promises not kept. I mean, wheelchairs. If your wheelchair breaks, what happens if you get that wheelchair? Let's say you get that wheelchair, it breaks, and you got it from that company, DMS. Well, if there's a complaint, you might not get another wheelchair. Why? Because they might be out of business. You see, fraudulent businesses come and go. They may be in your city today, and they may be in the city somewhere else tomorrow. Scams are worldwide. Now, again, to sum everything up, if the number seems realistic, you can answer the phone. Keep them on the phone to get information from them. Ask them for an employee number. Ask them if they're licensed to do business in your state. Ask them, are you Medicare or Medicaid? If they tell you representative, they're a representative, you might want to hang it up. Don't give any of your valuable information out, whether it's online or whether it's on the phone. The bottom line is the scams are real and you got to be safe. Because in the end, you live once. And if you're getting Social Security and Medicare and you haven't made much money in your life, chances are you're in a bind. And when you're in a bind, you're desperate. And when something sounds good, even if you don't know what's going on, you will fall for it. So listen to this video and trust your instincts. Does this deal make sense? Weigh the pros and the cons out. If you don't believe that it makes sense, don't go with it. Be critical. Ask questions. Because generally, you can get a scammer in hot water when you ask a lot of questions. You start asking them about rules and regulations and different codes, they're going to hang up on you. Or if you do like I do, you like to toy with them. You ask them about the codes, the manuals, and then cuss them out. That's also fun too. Because in the end, if they're going to waste my time, I'm going to waste their time. Because the worst thing that you could have to really defeat people, they don't want you to have a brain. A brain is dangerous to a scammer. But in the end, like I said, be knowledgeable of what's going on. It's your life, it's your money. Don't let the scammers eat off of your hard-earned money. And that's my commentary for this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. If you like what I just presented, please comment, share, and subscribe. And if you're looking for some STEM content, you check out my second channel, the QCIS channel. On that channel, I'll give you a daily dose of science, technology, engineering, and math. Now, if you cannot find the 411 Talk Zone radio show channel or the QCIS channel on YouTube, have no fear, because my videos from Both of those channels are always posted on my Twitter page. For the QCIS channel, since it is an educational channel, I go one step further. You can find a QCIS channel on my LinkedIn page. And in the end, be blessed for what you have. Don't worry about what you don't have. Always know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. But if the shoe fits, wear it. If you don't like the shoe, change it. And once again, thank you for listening to this edition of the 411 Talk Zone radio show right here on YouTube. Till next time, my name is Leon Jones. I want you all to have a wonderful and gracious evening. God bless you. I'm out.